Hey guys, Dave here from Wolf in the Wild Survival. And today, as you can tell, we're right near a road. Now I do apologize for that, but the things that I want to show you are in very close proximity to here. I don't have a lot of time today, so it's a lot easier for me to do this here than to tromp around and look for something different. So sorry about the vehicle noise, but you know, we take our opportunities where we can. And in survival, it's not always ideal. So I guess we might as well get used to that while we're viewing videos too. So let's get at what I'm about to show you. So I'm at the point of filming this video, I am about to go on a 6-day camp trip way up in Northern Ontario. So keep an eye out for that video, which hopefully will go off better than my last camp trip. Hopefully. But because I'm doing that, I'm not going to have, you know, like my regular uploads normally, you know, like I do. So I'm going to try to get this video right here shot, edited, and uploaded before I go, which shouldn't be a problem, but, you know, stuff happens. So here's hoping. So basically, yeah, I'm doing this a quick video here just to let you guys know what's going on, and, you know, to give you something to watch, because, you know, I'd hate to... Harley Davidson. I'd hate for you guys to miss out. Alright, so today's topic, 3 plants that you're generally going to want to avoid that a lot of people might not really know about. Now, obviously, like poison ivy, poison sumac, poison oak, most people want to avoid. Almost everybody knows about poison ivy. Almost everybody knows about poison oak, you know, kind of whatever. But some things that a lot of people don't know about are, say, this plant right here. Now, I did a video about this last year, I think, and it is a wild edible. It's called cow parsnip. But the leaves, the stems, and the flowers, and especially the juices inside, if you break that and you get the juices on you, it's going to react a lot like poison ivy, a lot like giant hogweed. It is like a photosensitive or a photo-enacting chemical where this is going to burn you, and the more sun that you get on that spot, the more it's going to burn. So let me bring you in and give you a good look. All right, so first of all, we have the flower part. And it's not... Okay, these flowers are going to be white. It doesn't really have a spot where it's flowering yet, but it is going to flower up into a white flower. It is fairly similar to Queen Anne's lace in flower appearance. And as a matter of fact, it's part of the same family. All the plants that I'm going to show you today are all part of the same family. But yeah, it's also very, very young. It's going to grow a fair bit bigger than this, probably twice the height, or close to it. But right now, it is about the same height as me. It's about 6 feet high. A lot of people will mistake this plant for giant hogweed. And it is similar in how it affects your skin. Probably not quite as bad, but close. Okay, also, let's see if I can do this without having to turn the camera off. Let's just bring her down to the stem. Okay, so it is kind of a red purple color. It's got some green on it, but for the most part it's a very kind of a wine color, kind of a red wine color, red purple. Now, I believe the stems are hollow too. So there we have a nice hollow stem. So some of you kids out there might be tempted to use that like a pea shooter or a breathing tube underwater. That would be an exceedingly bad idea. The only safe part of this plant is the root, and even still you have to cook it fairly well. Although, as I mentioned in the video about this plant, the cow parsnip, I think parsnips are disgusting. I don't like them, so I consider it to be a toxic, noxious plant all around, because, yeah, parsnips are gross. All right, on to the leaves. And this is the part that you really got to be careful of, because as you're walking through the woods and you're going to brush past a plant like this, the leaves is what you're going to basically be running into, and it is the part where you're going to get most of that chemical from. So that's something you're going to want to definitely keep an eye out for. You don't want that on you. You do not want that on you at all. Okay, so that is the cow parsnip. While you're tromping through the woods, you're definitely going to want to avoid that. This is another example of cow parsnip. You can see it's already grown above my head. Now I'm 6 feet tall, and this thing isn't done growing yet. It will get a bit bigger. Quite not quite twice this size, but it will get a fair bit bigger. Now, I show you this because in and around me there is, oh, that's not it. Okay, I saw some coming in. There's garlic mustard growing all over the place. And then there is like the watercress growing here. And there's a lot of ragweed. Ragweed is like a superfood, basically. It is right up there. There is okay, saw it coming in, and I don't want to mess around too much, but so there's also lamb's quarters growing around here somewhere. And that's like a wild spinach kind of idea. So there's a lot of good food in here. And while wild collecting a lot of this good food, you got to be careful of stuff like this here. You know, keep an eye out for the dangers as well as what you're looking to eat. So, plant number one to avoid, basically, is this. Plant number two. One of the most toxic plants in North America is right beside me here. This is called the hemlock plant, also known as poison hemlock. And although it does have some of that photoreactive toxic chemical, it's not necessarily all that bad. The real danger is this looks a lot like Queen Anne's lace. And even small amounts of it can be deadly. And it's a really bad way to go, too. It's really bad. So let's bring you in a little closer and get up and personal with this deadly plant. First of all, the flowers, very, very similar to Queen Anne's lace. Really similar. There are differences, and it's kind of hard to see right now because it's not quite in full bloom yet. But there are, instead of a cluster like an umbrella, it's more like little parasols. They're broken up. So you could probably see how the segments here, kind of thing. So they're close, but they're different enough that you can generally tell by looking at the flower. Oh, also under Queen Anne's lace, they have like these. Oh, geez, I don't even know what they're called. They're leaves, but they're very thin, almost stick-like, and they're three-pronged. They grow out as one and then three at the end underneath the flower base all the way around. So that's another way to tell. Only Queen Anne's lace has that particular thing. It's the only thing in the whole family that does that. Also, the stem. Let's get you right in here. The stem is smooth and mottled with purple. Queen Anne's lace, it's hairy and green. Not mottled at all and not smooth. Okay, finally we get to the leaves. Now the leaves are very similar to Queen Anne's lace. Very similar to parsley. Very, very similar to parsley. And as a matter of fact, in Canada, I believe it was in the 1930s and 40s, a lot of this stuff got into parsley crops, and a lot of people died because of this plant. And yeah, I was in the 30s and 40s, I think. So, for the most part, this is what separates hemlock and water hemlock, is what the leaves look like. Water hemlock is a little bit more toxic. It is pretty much the most toxic plant in North America. This is a very close second, and what distinguishes the two are the leaves. So when wild collecting for wild carrots, for your soups or your whatever, you gotta know this plant. You gotta know the differences. Because if you make a mistake, there's a good chance it'll be your last mistake. And like I said, it's a really bad way to go. So, plant number 2 that you really want to avoid when you're tromping around in the woods, camping, fishing, doing your thing, hemlock. Bad plant. Lastly, and probably the worst, the absolute worst of the 3 that I'm showing you today, is the water hemlock, which I have right here. Most toxic plant in North America. This, ow, whew, thorn. This thing is deadly. This thing is deadly, deadly. If you consume this, even so much as half a gram, chances are you're gonna die. And it's a horrible, horrible, horrible poisoning. Bad way to go. So, if you take anything away from this video, know this plant. I mean, I would hope that you take all of it away, because part of the reason I do this is to educate people, to save a lot of grief, and hopefully save some lives. Because a lot of people are interested in this stuff, and this will definitely kill you. So let's bring you in and get up close and personal with the most toxic plant in North America. The differences between the hemlock and the water hemlock are pretty wide, pretty varied. A lot of major differences. The differences between this and Queen Anne's lace, not so much. This is the real danger. So first of all, the flower. Now, once again, it's in little clusters, not a complete umbrella. Oh, and Queen Anne's lace usually has a purple flower right in the center as well. These don't. So instead of a big umbrella, it's little clusters, just like regular hemlock. A ladybug just flew onto... You looking for something to eat, pal? See how bright that is. That's awesome. Just flew right on there. Oh. There you go. Alright. So. Big difference between Queen Anne's lace and water hemlock. It's not a solid umbrella. It doesn't have that purple flower. And it doesn't have the three-pronged leaflets that come off of the thing as well. But that's where a lot of the similarities stop. Because those are the leaves, which they're actually they're quite different. The leaves of Queen Anne's lace is actually closer to hemlock than it is water hemlock. So that is a big difference as well. So the leaves actually resemble poison ivy, actually. They're like a lot more serrated, sawtooth, you know, kind of whatever. And, you know, I mean, they're a lot smaller or whatever. But they are actually quite similar to poison ivy. Right up to, like, the two lower leaves being right next to the stem. And the third leaf having a bit of a stem before it grows out. So very, very similar to poison ivy. Now, speaking of stem, you will notice it is smooth, but it is not mottled. If there's no hair on it, it is not Queen Anne's lace. That is, I mean, you can tell that even if there are no flowers on it. You can tell that right away. That is not Queen Anne's lace because there's no hair on it. That is water hemlock. That is extremely toxic. I shouldn't even be touching it, but I'm next to a river so I can wash my hands. So, and as you can see, all of this growing over here, this is all water hemlock. All those white flowers that you're seeing, that's all water hemlock. So it is quite a prolific plant. Some to keep in mind when you're wild harvesting and you're touching plants to identify them properly, which you should always do. Wash your hands. Always. Before you prepare any food, wash the food. If you have a water source nearby, great. If you don't, whatever it is you have to do, wash your hands really, really well. Because what I showed you today is so toxic that if you have it on your hands and you start eating, you could kill yourself very easily. Something that works well, because the plant matter is a little oily, good old-fashioned dirt. You want to clean your hands, get them dirty. Some good abrasive regular old dirt, a lot of the time, can do better than soap can. So you want to scrub that stuff off your hands. Get some river stones. Spoliate, I think is the word. Get her off you. Because an hour from now, if I'm doing whatever, and I start licking my fingers after playing with that hemlock and that poison hemlock, I can very easily kill myself. So, always remember to wash your hands really, really, really well. It could save your life.
Ha ha ha!